Coming to paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this all-new Spinsterella story. Pre-order your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. One of my viewers wanted to know why some Americans have lost their ability to compete and take risks. Well, the main reason why many Americans have lost their ability to compete and take risks is due to white supremacy, because white supremacy isn't a system of competition. No, white supremacy is a system of goodies, giveaways, and guarantees. And the big problem with many people under white supremacy is that they never learned how to compete in the first place. Now, when it comes down to the white supremacist is someone who has been pampered and spoiled, and they basically, as they have been pampered and spoiled with goodies, giveaways, and guarantees that are handed down from generation to generation, they've never really had to go out here and put in any sort of work or deal with any sort of competition, because when it comes down to white supremacy, whenever they see actual competition, they look to go out here and destroy that group through terrorism or any sort of intimidation, like what was done to many black businesses during the days of after Reconstruction and the Jim Crow period. There were many black entrepreneurs who provided actual direct competition to many of these white corporate businesses and upcoming corporations. And what they did was look to eliminate the competition through their enforcement arms or irregular forces of white supremacy, such as the Ku Klux Klan, and then covered it over with propaganda talking about pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps and working hard, when in actuality many of these people never really had to work hard. No, they basically were given everything, and as they were given everything, they basically were not interested in looking to go out here and actually compete. And this is something that they were allowed to coast on for many years, as they had opportunities provided to them, such as in the case of the whole speculation of the Great Depression imploding the economy. There was an opportunity given to America with World War II, with Hitler basically destroying most of Europe, and that allowed the United States to make it look like it was again able to be competitive and look like a superpower on paper, but in actuality they never really had to actually compete. And once they started to actually have to, they were looking to coast, weren't really looking to compete at all. No, Americans never really had to compete at all, and they usually again don't want to take risks unless they have to. Like in the case of the film industry, as it started from about 1900 to about 1960, coasted for a long time. And then, as we had a change with the baby boomers, they basically did not want to change. They were forced to change when they saw first black competition coming in the form of the late Melvin Van Peebles with Sweet Sweetback's song. When Melvin Van Peebles came to the marketplace, that was one of the things that triggered Hollywood to basically be forced to change. The second was the late Tom Laughlin coming to the theaters with Born Losers, making the first blockbuster. That the studios basically were filled with complacent people, because they felt comfortable in their system of white supremacy about ensuring that white people would be guaranteed middle-class jobs and a middle-class lifestyle. Then, since they felt comfortable about getting those guarantees, they felt they never had to compete. No, they didn't have to compete until they started to see actual black people coming into the marketplace, and that's when they start to feel like they have to compete, and that's when they scramble and look to try to go out here and make changes like they did with the film industry. Now, in other industries, they basically coasted for a long time, like in the case of the auto industry. Again, the auto industry coasted with people making these large V8 cars until the Arab oil embargo. And when the Arab oil embargo came along, that's when they felt they needed to compete. And again, they didn't really feel like they needed to compete because they felt, oh, we've got this industry as a lock. We've got these, everybody's getting, who's white is getting something. So since everybody white is getting something, again, Americans don't really know how to compete. Meanwhile, what's been happening with America is, again, they don't want to take risks because when it comes down to Americans, they want their smooth world. They want a world where there's no conflicts, no problems or obstacles for white people. And having no conflicts, problems, or obstacles for white people means no competition. And that's why they don't want to take risks, because they want everything absolutely guaranteed. They want everything guaranteed to be a certain way. They want a guarantee of a certain outcome. And again, they want a guarantee not only of an outcome, but want to see a white person be the winner in that outcome. So that's why the wealthy don't want competition. They don't want competition from anyone. And that's basically undermined life for the average, everyday, younger American from Gen X onward. Most of the baby boomers, they were able to coast with this whole system, but many people from Gen X onward were not able to receive any of those benefits. And again, the entire country has been stagnating for years, but again, many of these people, because they're comfortable and in their spots, they can't see how America has lost its edge. I mean, America lost its edge in the auto industry back when Japan basically started importing Toyotas and Hondas and basically beat us at the, as related to cars, with the Arab oil embargo. When it came down to film, Sweetback basically made it where Hollywood lost its competitive edge. And again, we see that again with different industries all throughout things, because many Americans, because they want to be, rich people want to be comfortable, they sent all of their manufacturing overseas. But no one wants to take risks because they want, again, that guaranteed outcome. They want that guaranteed outcome that will allow them to be able to maintain a certain lifestyle for a certain group of individuals. And as that group of individuals winds up comfortable and complacent, what happens is nothing is allowed to grow, because these people don't want to take risks, because they have been established with a comfortable lifestyle that has been guaranteed to them based on how much they are given by the system of white supremacy. And as they're given everything by the system of white supremacy, they have no incentive to change. No, they have no incentive to change. No different than what happened in the days of the South before the Civil War. Many of those Southerners basically wanted to stay in the old Southern tradition, where they believed that they could coast on importing cotton and having slaves pick cotton and having it sent to places like England and France and Germany. And they really didn't understand how the world was changing, and how the world was changing because of the Industrial Revolution in the North, 1. 2, they didn't understand that these other countries they were trading with were basically going to finally discover India and all of Asia and basically colonize Asia under the British Empire, the French Empire, and other European countries, again looking to build their own trade. And that's what led to, again, those slave masters in the South basically coming in for a rude awakening. Even before the Civil War, they were on a road to obsolescence, because they basically were afraid of taking risks, and were afraid of taking risks because they wanted to maintain their smooth world and their comfortable guaranteed lifestyle. Their comfortable guaranteed lifestyle that was provided to them by the institution of white supremacy. The institution of white supremacy basically giving them a lifestyle that was provided by the labor of foundational black Americans, and they wanted to maintain that lifestyle. Again, they don't want to go out here and compete. And this is the lifestyle, this is the mindset that is passed down from generation to generation. Generation to generation is waiting for someone to give them something. And again, that's what happened to many of the kids who came up from Generation X onward. Again, we were told we were supposed to be given something, but the world didn't have anything for us. And since they didn't have a good job of doing that, again, people are afraid of taking risks. No, people are still looking for a goodie, a giveaway, or a guarantee, but nothing is guaranteed in life. No, in the real world, real people have to, in order to survive, have to adapt. Real people have to compete. And the whole thing is they fear black people because black people by nature have had to compete in this world just for a daily bread. Again, this is how black people in America have had to do ever since we came out of slavery. Black people have had to compete in society, bringing our best to the table every day, bringing our best to the table while everyone else coasts. And that's the way it is in other parts of the world where, again, it's about survival. And again, this is where the white person is at a disadvantage because they're used to getting everything, especially the wealthy being given everything. And as they're used to being given everything, again, they don't know how to, again, take risks. They play it safe. Like guys like Bob Iger, who currently runs Disney, he doesn't know how to create anything or take any risks. So he buys companies like Lucasfilm, installs shills like Kathleen Kennedy in the spots as running that company, or running a guy like Kevin Feige, and again, have them go out here and make movies that will make content for him. Whereas you look at his predecessor, Michael Eisner, who was basically had his back against the wall and realized that Disney was this close to going out of business, he started to actually do some real competition and looking to fix the issues with Disney's animation division. Moreover, he went out here and opened up many small budget movies, knowing that small budget movies over time could basically save the studio because they can make big box office films like this as subsidiaries like Touchstone Pictures and other divisions. They could go out here and pull box office on weekends, especially in the slow months, and make big money like Pretty Woman did in January or February, I believe. Went on to become, it was a $10 million movie, went on to make over $100 and some odd million, and was considered one of the big hits of 1990. Again, risk taking is out there, but sometimes people again don't want to take risks. And again, Americans have lost that ability to take risks as we've become again more consolidated as related to corporate America. We've lost that ability to take risks and compete because many people again just don't know how to do this. Many Americans don't know how to compete because, again, when you're from generation to generation being given something, when you're given something, you have no real incentive to go out here and learn how to change. And again, usually when change comes in America, it's because it's forced to come. It's forced to come like it did after the Civil War. Basically, the nation had to change because in order to compete with the Europeans and the British and French empires that were colonizing Asia, they had to, again, accept that there was an industrial revolution in the South after losing to the Union, and they had to accept that there was change when World War II came along as related to, again, the whole situation with World War II, and then after it, U.S. becoming a superpower. Again, it's always about those goodies, giveaways, and guarantees. They're forced to change, and the Civil Rights Movement forced change. The Civil Rights Movement did force change, and again, forced change, but the whole thing is many black people did not understand how to compete because a lot of black people wanted white acceptance more than economic power, and because they wanted white acceptance more than economic power, that basically undermined the black economy, and kept the black economy from being the powerhouse it could have been. I mean, the black economy could have been a powerhouse, but sadly, many black people, again, were more interested in white acceptance and white approval, and instead of getting our tangibles as related to our tax dollars back to fund our schools and give us quality roads and quality housing and a higher quality of life. Again, black people, again, we are the ones who do take the risk. We are the ones who go out here and have to take risks because, again, if we don't compete, we don't survive. But when it comes down to many white Americans, again, they're afraid of risk because They want to have their smooth world. They want their world of goodies, giveaways, and most importantly, those guarantees, a guarantee of a certain lifestyle. But the whole thing is, when you live a guaranteed way, yes, you'll have maybe 1, 2 generations be extremely comfortable, but as they're so comfortable, they basically lose their edge. And they lose their edge because they become too complacent. And as they become complacent, what happens is the world around them is still adapting and changing. And as the world around them, is adapting and changing, what happens to those people is they wind up in a situation where they wind up getting left behind. And that's what's happening here to America in the 21st century. We've got a bunch of people who were comfortable and complacent in the 20th century, and them looking to pass down their guaranteed lifestyles to their children and grandchildren. And as they're looking to pass down their lifestyles to their children and grandchildren, they have stagnated the country. They have stagnated the country and kept the country from being competitive. And as they've kept the country from being competitive, these older people, again, who are wealthy, are sitting on all this money, sitting on money and sitting there comfortable. Meanwhile, other countries like China, Russia, and many other countries like Korea and Japan are adapting and becoming more competitive. And as America wants to go back to a place of being great in the 20th century, they don't see how the 21st century world in 2025 is completely different. And they are in a place where they're about to be left behind, completely left behind, because again, when you become comfortable and complacent and you don't take risks, you play it safe. Again, playing it safe means that you're stuck in the past, like our Hollywood movie system, which continues to make movies about the 1980s. And again, the 1980s were basically over 40 years ago, and that again is a 20th century world, a world that's completely different from today. People have different experiences, the culture is different, but we have studio executives who basically their prime time was back in the 80s and the 90s, and again, stuck in the past, and again, don't want to compete because everything was guaranteed to them. And as they're looking to keep their guarantees, they don't understand how the world is changing. And again, Americans lost their ability to compete because they just, again, have this whole system of white supremacy that looks to give goodies, giveaways, and guarantees to white people and those who will bootleg for them and be a part of their social pecking order. And that's why America is behind, mainly because of white supremacy. Again, the institution of racism here in America is undermining the progress of this country. I mean, had we had actual competition between black people and white people in this country, we could have had an economy that's twice this size. A black community could have been an economy in and of itself the size of Japan or South Korea's. But the whole thing is, white supremacy is a codependent dysfunction that's undermining this country's ability to progress, because we don't take risks. No, people want to be complacent, whether they be black or white. They basically want to be complacent and get those goodies, giveaways, and guarantees to them. And since they want those goodies, giveaways, and guarantees for them, they play it safe over and over, not understanding that their efforts to play it safe in the nature of life is leading to them being left behind. And they don't mind being left behind because it's an I got mine, screw you mentality. And as they've got theirs, they could care less about anyone else. And that's why you have people who, again, don't want to take risks, don't want to compete, because they want to, again, get what's guaranteed to them. They want to get what's given to them for free. And all this while they tell black people to, again, pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps and go out here and work. But the great irony is that many of those who are under the system of white supremacy have never really worked for anything, because everything was given to them. And that's why you have it where you have a society on a decline, because nobody wants to take a risk. Nobody wants to take a risk. Nobody wants to take on a challenge. Again, we've all gone through our whole system again and seen people becoming complacent from the public schools to the business world, everybody wants to play it safe. And again, playing it safe means that you may get a guaranteed result, but that guaranteed result basically will lead to you eventually running out, because when it comes down to those results, yes, they're guaranteed for a time, but eventually times change, and once times change, that's when you wind up not being able to get what you used to, and that's what's happened over time. And again, history is just repeating itself, because the only way to get growth and the only way to get success is to take risks, but that's something many Americans don't know how to do, because in white supremacy, nobody knows how to take risks. No, everyone wants everything guaranteed, but there's one thing that's guaranteed, and that is nothing is guaranteed in this world. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and if you want to request a video, you can drop a donation for a minimum of $15 to the PayPal or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if I know something about that subject, I'll make that video for you. And if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct imprint, you can find over 80 titles on Amazon.com and other online booksellers. And that's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Way in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.